Welcome back, guys. Today, I gotta talk about something that is definitely the elephant in the room. Gaijin has been ignoring this for a little too long. It's been an issue, and it's time to address it. It's only getting worse, guys, and that is the battle rating compression. Now, let me preface this because if you guys don't know, when you get in a match, you have a max up tier or down tier of 1 BR. That is to say that if I fly out this FJ4 right here, which you guys have been asking for footage, I don't enjoy this plane, but I got kind of lucky. This is the one match I flew it. I got a few kills. The FJ4 is 9.0 right now, alright? Now, all these new aircraft, all these new supersonics, we got the T2, we got the F100, we've got the MiG-19 SPT, and then we now have the MiG-21 and the J7. All those aircraft can fight at supersonic speeds. And here we are in a little FJ4 where I am struggling to maintain 700 kilometers an hour. And that's not even to say that, you know, the MiG-19s, they're probably at 4K by the time I'm barely getting off a damn runway. How is this fair? Now, all these new aircraft that I just mentioned, they are all at 10.0 battle rating. Your max up tier is 1.0 battle rating. That means that I have a very strong chance of facing them because right now supersonics are the meta in the game. So enough people complained about the MiG-15 BIS having issues fighting the F100 and the MiG-19 that it got down tiered to 8.7. And I don't really agree with that. I don't agree with the MiG-15 going down to 8.7. It was a perfectly good aircraft at 9.0. There was no problems until the supersonics came along. Moving the MiG-15 BIS down to 8.7 only compressed things worse than they were. Now it has to face 7.7s, or it can face 7.7s. Now, not saying that that happens every time, but there's no 7.7 aircraft that can face that thing. Sorry guys, it just can't handle it. Now, let's move along. One of the bigger complaints that nowadays that I see is the F-86A5. The A5, it's a very dangerous aircraft, and people do not understand it because it's probably your first Sabre. You're still learning. It is definitely underpowered. I am not going to sit there and debate that, but it is also one of the most maneuverable Sabres that there is. And I'll tell you what, when I get in a dogfight, I'm not scared of an F-35. I'm not scared of an F-2 as much as I am scared of an A5 because that thing will pull right behind me and park on my butt and spray me down. The A5 needs to stay at 9.0. So I bet you're saying, but whoopty, the A5 can't face supersonics. It's too slow. Well, guys, you're right. I'm not going to argue that one little bit. But the answer is not down-tiering the A5. The A5 is a very good plane at 9.0. So we need to take these supersonics. Right now, everything is capped at 10.0 battle rating. And that is a very bad move in Gaijin's part. It really needs to be separated. Now, there's probably two ways to go about this. Somebody brought up, you know, hey, instead of having a 1.0 battle rating spread, why don't we go to 0.7? And I'm not against that, but in a game where we already struggle to get matches sometimes, tightening it down to 0.7 battle rating may make the matchmaker take a lot longer. You may be sitting and waiting for matches forever. So I'm not necessarily in agreement with that. The easy fix for what we have going on right now would be to take all these new supersonics. All right, I'm going to list them off. We got the F4 Phantom, we've got the MiG-19S, we've got the MiG-19 PT, we've got the MiG-21, we've got the J7, we've got the J6, and then we also have the Mitsubishi T2. Now, every one of those aircraft, every single one of them can easily go to 10.3 right now. And that is going to force them into a matchmaker that keeps the old Sabres, the MiG-15s, in their own matchmaking. That's going to force all these supersonics to fight each other. That's a hell of a lot more fair, and it makes too much sense. And when we do that, we are decompressing the BR very, very quickly. It makes it so much more enjoyable. Now, you also got to consider the F100 and then the Hunter F6, a couple other aircraft in there that, you know what, they might struggle a little bit, but at least they are capable of fighting. At least they are capable of doing the speeds, or maybe they have the climb rate to compete. I think that the F100 should stay at 10.0. I think that the Hunter F6 can probably stay at 9.7? Yeah, 9.7. It'll be fine there because if it gets up tiered, and it probably will, it at least has a chance to compete. So now that we got all the supersonics away from the 9.0s, away from the old matchmaker that we used to love and enjoy, let's talk about some of the other aircraft. First up is one of my favorite aircraft, at least when it comes to 9.0s at this point in time, is the F-86K. Now, this thing has an afterburner. It has a lot of power. It can go vertical with a lot of supersonics. It may not be the fastest, but it at least is competitive. This aircraft needs to be 9.3. Reason also being is because this thing should not be able to face 8.0 aircraft. There is just not a chance in hell that they have against it. My next aircraft that I'd like to see changed is one we were talking about when we first came into this, the FJ4. It is not very competitive at 9.0. It can kind of hang, but it's just not that good. FJ4, 8.7 battle rating. 8.7, keep it there. It's just not that good of an aircraft. Next on my list is the Shenyang F5. This is the new Chinese MiG-17. It's not only a MiG-17, it's a MiG-17 with afterburners and missiles. And yet it's the same battle rating as the regular MiG-17. This thing is easily twice as good as the regular MiG-17. And yet here we are. 9.3 for the Shenyang F5. Shouldn't be any questions there. Next up on the list is the CL-13 Mark V. I didn't even notice this one until I started looking. When the hell did this thing go to 9.3? It don't belong there, and it definitely shouldn't be facing supersonics. It ain't fast enough. So let's bring that thing back down to 9.0. 9.0, that keeps it away from the supersonics. Now the CL Mark VI, it can stay at 9.3. I'm hoping it doesn't face supersonics every day, but at least it has a decent amount of power it might be able to. We'll hash that out later. Next up, moving down the German line, is the 262 C1A. Who the hell even flies this plane when you have the C2B, which has 2 boosters instead of 1, at the same battle rating? The 1 booster doesn't do a whole hell of a lot for this plane, but it sits at 8.0, where it means that it can face 9.0s, which it definitely does not even stand a chance. It's not that much better than the regular 262, so let's bring that thing down to 7.7 or 7.3 even. At least there, maybe it'll stand a chance, and maybe it'll even be able to get back against that new F-89. We'll talk about that in a bit. The next aircraft I want to talk about is the Seahawk. Okay, so we have a German Seahawk, we have a British Seahawk. They're both the same aircraft. The German one, for some reason, gets missiles. Whatever, they're AIM-9Bs. If you have a decent head on your shoulders, you can dodge AIM-9Bs pretty easily. They're kind of annoying, but the Seahawk, as an aircraft, regardless of the missiles, cannot really compete very well at 8.0 because that also means that it faces 9.0. That aircraft needs to go back to 7.7. Main reason being is it's just not fast enough. It's a very good turn fighter, but it is not fast enough. The next one on my list is the Ju-288C. Okay, now this is a premium, I believe it's a premium aircraft that came in a little while ago. I'm not a big fan of it, but if you're a bomber pilot, go for it. But the problem I have with it is too damn fast to be facing 4.7 to 5.7 battle rank aircraft. And to be honest, it's all it goes against. So the Ju-288C definitely needs to go to 6.0 or maybe 6.3. And I know you guys won't really like to hear me say that, but I'm sorry. I'm tired of chasing that thing every damn match when I fly props. On top of that, it's a bomber. It's got a very, very, very tanky damage model. It's rather hard to kill unless you have some really good HE rounds. Now, the last one I have on the German line, and this was more coming from Defin when I was talking to him, but the Focke-Wulf 190A8, okay, that thing really needs to come down to 4.7. It doesn't have enough power, and it doesn't really compete that well at its current battle rank. At the same time, the rudder is also kind of an issue in that aircraft, so it's not the greatest plane. It could stand a little bit better chance if it goes down to 4.7. But that's enough for the German line. Let's move on. So I covered most of the aircraft I was talking about in the American tree, but there's one more aircraft that really needs to be fixed, and that is the F-89B. Okay, currently this thing is at 7.3. And if you guys haven't faced it yet, this thing absolutely dominates 7.3. If it gets in an up tier, it's a little different story because some of the aircraft actually can compete with it because they're fast enough and they climb pretty well. The Big 9 late right now, that's currently, in my opinion, that's its best threat. The Horton got nerfed, and it kind of got nerfed at the wrong time. So unfortunately, right now the F-89B, I believe, needs to go to 7.7. But you guys have heard me say that once before because I don't think it will be able to compete if it goes to 8.0. I don't want to see people get completely, what can I say, Gaijined when it goes to 8.0 and it's not a good plane anymore. So 7.7, we'll see where we're at. Next up, we'll take a look at the British tree. Right now with the British tree, there's not really too much going on. It's not that bad. But the one thing I gotta say is the Spitfire Mark 22 and 24, they need to go back to 6.0 and 6.3. Right now, they're at 6.3 and 6.7 respectively. And they're kind of like, don't get me wrong, they're still very capable planes. But it's kind of not fun facing jets all day. And that's all they do. Now, the P-51H... it's at 6.3, yet it climbs better, it's faster. Overall, I think it's a far more competitive aircraft, yet it sits at 6.3. WTF. Alright, well, let's move on to the Russian tree. Russian tree, this is a good one because the Russians, you know, this game used to have a lot of Russian bias, but now, especially with the MiG-15, the MiG-17, the guns kind of suck. The only time the guns ever get good is when you get to the MiG-19 and the MiG-21, but... let's go down a little bit because we already talked about those aircraft. Now, here's one that you know, the Yak-23, some people might disagree with me on this one, but the Yak-23, I believe, needs to go back to 7.7 because sitting at 8.0 right now, again, 8.0s have to face 9.0 aircraft. It compresses too much at high speeds to really be able to honestly compete. So, Yak-23 needs to go back to 7.7 so it can actually be competitive again. Next one, how about the Yak-30? Yak-30, I'm kind of curious why this got up here in the first place, but that thing is now at 8.3. Not really sure why. It's not going to be able to compete against 9.3s. It's a very good aircraft, but the guns kind of suck, and you don't have a ton of ammo. It's very, very maneuverable, but it compresses at high speeds. That plane should have never moved. It needs to go back to 8.0. How about the next one, the LA-200? Not a lot of people fly this plane, but... it probably needs to go to maybe 8.7 to be flat out honest because that plane is very, very fast. It's faster than most 9.0s. It actually does. I think it's like 11, 12, 11, 13 kilometers an hour on a deck. That's faster than most of the 9.0s. It could be competitive at 8.7. At least get it away from 8.0. So while I was making this video, you know, I took a little break and flew a couple matches. This match right here, this is a prime example of why 9.0s should not be facing 10.0s. Just go ahead and watch this. This will be background footage while I'm talking. Alright, moving on. Let's talk about the MiG-15. No, not the MiG-15 bis, but the regular MiG-15. That aircraft does not have the high-speed maneuverability. It's more like a Yak-30, to be flat out honest. It has good power, but it compresses a lot. It compresses a ton. It's not very competitive when it comes to 9.0. That aircraft should at least be 0.3 battle rank below the MiG-15 bis. So if the MiG-15 bis is at 8.7, I could see the MiG-15 non-bis going down to 8.3. But personally, I'd rather see the MiG-15 non-bis at 8.7 and the MiG-15 bis back to 9.0. Does that make sense? That's what I think. You guys may or may not agree. We'll see. Now, the Japanese tree... I'm not very well versed on it, and to be honest, I don't think, I'm not going to make any suggestions on it. I know that the Key 84s have some issues. I think a couple of them need to be down tiered, but I'm not an expert. I'm going to leave that. Moving on to Italy. Honestly, I believe the G91R should stay at 9.0. It probably wouldn't be that bad if it goes down to 8.7 if you guys really wanted it. But at 9.0, if you get rid of the supersonics, it's still a very competitive aircraft. Then we have the G91YS. YS is a great aircraft, very competitive against supersonics. That thing can definitely stay at 9.7. That is by far the best the best subsonic that we have. Lastly, Italy also got the F-86K. Same story, same aircraft. I haven't even flown it. It doesn't matter. It's the same aircraft. That thing needs to go to 9.3 as well. All right. What about France? France, F-86K, 9.3, done. Super Mystere. Super Mystere is a very fast aircraft when it comes to the subsonics. Now, it is also supersonic when you get really high, but you're probably not going to see that very often. Honestly, I think the Super Mystere can stay at 9.0, maybe 9.3, but personally, I don't want to see it facing supersonics because it is a very difficult plane to fly, especially when you get multiple aircraft, multiple supersonics that are faster than you, strafing you, and you end up losing speed after every turn. So, Super Mystere, let's keep it at 9.0 for now. Let's see what happens. As for the rest of the Chinese tree, now the Chinese tree, most of it's all copy paste. I don't think I really need to speak too much on that one. We talked about the Shenyang F5. That's the only unique aircraft on that tree. Other than that, oops. Guess I should have been paying attention. Anyways, Chinese tree, most all that stuff's copy paste. You know, for the ones that are copied over, the same rules apply. You know, the MiG-19, which is the J6, it should definitely go to 10.3 as well. That's a MiG-19 PT, by the way. The only real difference with the Chinese tree, obviously, is the J7. The J7 is far better. Now, we'll probably see some competitor for that one here pretty soon, because I do believe the MiG-21 BIS will probably come out for the Russian line. Or maybe it'll come out for the German line, you never know. Gaijin things. Anyways, that's the most of my my input. That's the big ones that I think that need to be changed. Let me know what you guys think. I'm all open. I'm listening. You know, I'm curious. You know, but I think that these are pretty sound decisions. That, you know, definitely the 10.3 thing. We need to remove this battle rating cap at 10.0. We definitely need to bring it up. This is what is causing all, well, yeah, no, all of our battle rating issues right now. Enjoy the rest of this footage. This is an F89 match that I purposely up-tiered myself into an 8.0 match. So, yes, I got some kills, but it is a struggle bus. You can see how much better these aircraft outperform me. I just kind of got lucky. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and put all the battle rating suggestions I have. I'm going to go ahead and get them in the comments for you guys. I'm going to go ahead and pin that. And you guys can comment on that. Let me know what you think and get you a visual representation of what's going on. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you around.